We begin today the Gemara on Daf Lamed Zayin Amud Beis, 12 lines up from the bottom of the Amud, where it says, Amalei Ravina Ravashi. The Gemara here returns to something that it spoke about on Amud Aleph, in the Mishnah, where it speaks about a person that received a pakadon of money from two people. There's a case where he received from two people, and one gave 100, another one gave 200, and then when they come to collect it, each one claims that I'm the one that gave 200. And there was also another case in the Mishnah where a person says, I got a pakadon from one of your fathers, but I don't know which one. And there was a contradiction there in the Mishnah whether the shomer is going to have to be responsible to reimburse both of them fully or not. And the Gemara before brought in the name of Rave that it depends. If it's a case where they both gave the pakadon b'shtei krichos, it was clear that they were separate, each one gave it in a separate wallet or in a separate bundle. So then it's the shomer's responsibility to see to it that he gives each one back what he deserves, what he gave him. So therefore, if each one is going to claim that I got more, he's going to have to reimburse both of them fully. That's his responsibility. So on this, the Gemara now asks from what was said regarding another case. Ravina asks Ravashi about this. Did Rava say, Kol b'shtei krichos? Anytime when a person received two piktonis and he received them in separate bundles and there's different amounts, it's the shomer's responsibility to be particular and see who gave him this amount, who gave him that amount, and when it comes to pay, he's going to have to pay the right one, the amount, and if he doesn't know, he's going to have to pay both of them. But did Rava say this? But Rava or Rav Papa said, Hakol Moedim. Everybody agrees, and this is here in the Mishnah in Bechayris, where there's a machlokes between Rab Tarfon and Rab Akiva regarding a suffix Bechayr, and there they both say that both Rab Tarfon and Rab Akiva agree, B'shnayim she'efkidu eitzel raya, two people that gave animals to a shepherd. One comes and says, I gave you two animals. And the other one comes and says, no, he gave one animal. I am the one that gave two animals. So there's an argument who gets two and who gets one. So in such a case, Rava or Rav Papa said, what do? Shemeniach raya b'neihem u'mistalik. That the shepherd just leaves the animals between them and he walks away. He doesn't have to reimburse each one of them fully because each one claims that you gave it to me. Now in this case, it's similar to shtei krichos. Over here, each one came and gave the two animals, and it's very clear exactly who's giving what, and it should be the responsibility, according to what Rava says before, for the shomer to make sure, to remember, to know who exactly gave what. And if he doesn't remember, it should be his responsibility to give back each one fully what he claims is his. And Rashi clarifies, even though they came together, and if they're seeing what each other is giving, so you could say that they were trusting each other about this, and the shomer does not have to take responsibility. So Rashi says, no, the shomer still has to take responsibility for this. It's open, it's clear to see, and therefore it's his responsibility to give back to each one what they deserve. Amalei, so Rashi answers and explains that you must say over there, Hasam ki shevkidu be'edrei shel roya shaloi midaitai. When it says that the shepherd just gives the animals and he doesn't have to reimburse both of them, it's a case where they did not come and give it to the shepherd directly, that he saw exactly who gave what. They just dropped it off in his with all the animals there, and he's going to take care of it. So because it wasn't given to him directly and he didn't see, this is not his responsibility later when they come to pick up their animals to know who gets one and who gets two. So therefore he just puts it there and they take it. Going back to the Mishnah on Amud Aleph, so the Mishnah brought a machlokes between the Tanna Kama and Rav Yosi, as I mentioned, regarding the case where two people gave money for someone. One gave $100, the other one gave 200, and now when they come to pick up, each one claims, I'm the one that gave the 200. So the Tanna Kama there says, so you could give each one of them $100. Now, the third 100 that you don't know who to give to, that we leave until Eliyahu Hanavi comes. On that, Rav Yosi argued and said, what does the Rama have to lose out by trying to claim that he's the one that gave 200? And therefore, rather, he says, we leave it all until Eliyahu Hanavi comes. And that will stop a Rami of doing such a thing, or maybe motivate him to admit. Now, after that, the Mishnah came and basically said a very similar case, v'chein shnei kelim, as the Gemara quotes here, when there were two vessels that two people gave for a person to keep for them. Echad yafa mana, v'echad yafa elev zuz chulu. One is a cheap one, just worth a mana. The other one is worth 1,000 zuz. And then when they come to pick it up, each one claims that the more expensive one is mine. So here's the same machlokes. Tanakama says that you give the smaller vessel to one, and from the other larger and expensive vessel, you're going to have to break it, or maybe sell it, and give the value of it to one of them. And then the rest, which we don't know who to give to, Yehei Munach. And on that, Rabbi Yossi says, no, Hakel Yehei Munach, just like he said regarding the money. So the Gemara here is going to explain now why does the Mishnah have to say two cases that seemingly are saying the same point. But the Mishnah had to say both cases. If we would only say the halacha regarding when they're arguing about the money, who gave 200 and who gave 100, I would say it's in that case that the Rabbanan said that you are going to give 100 to one and 100 to the other, and the third 100, only that third 100, you leave Yehei Munach, because by doing that, there's no loss involved in this. When it comes to the two vessels, the Ikep Seide, the Gadol, there is a certain loss involved in this, because you're going to give one the smaller vessel, but then from the larger, more expensive vessel, you can't give it entirely to the other, and you're going to have to either break it or sell it, and then you can only give them a portion of it. So there's a certain loss of it that you have to break it or sell it. Maybe I would say here, the Tanakama admits to Rabbi Yossi that we don't want to break this vessel, and therefore we just leave all of it until Eliyahu Navi comes. That's why I had to say the second case. On the other hand, if we would only say the second case, where Rabbi Yossi says that all of it, we leave it, Yehei Munach, I would say maybe Baha Kama Rabbi Yossi, maybe only here Rabbi Yossi says we leave it all because of the point that we just said, we don't want to break this one vessel here. Maybe in the first case regarding the money, here where there's no hefsid, you don't have to break anything, maybe you give $100 to one, $100 to the other, and only the third 100 you leave until Eliyahu Navi comes. So, maybe he would agree. So therefore we have to say the second case to teach us that Rabbi Yossi has his opinion even in the first case regarding the money as well. So that's why I have to teach the first case as well according to Rabbi Yossi. Okay. Now the Gemara asks though on this tzrichas that we can't say the point that we said here according to Rabbi Yossi. But Rabbi Yossi clearly in the Mishnah spells out the basis of his opinion, Mishum Hefsed Aramai. The reason why you can't give anything back to any of these people here, and you have to leave it all, Yehei Munach, until Eliyahu comes, because otherwise, what does the Ramai, the thief, lose out from this? We want to give a knas to the Ramai. That's the whole point here. So it doesn't make a difference if it's a case, if it's vessels and there's going to be a loss by breaking the larger vessel, or if it's money and there's no loss involved. Either way, Rabbi Yossi makes clear the basis of his opinion. So why is it necessary to say, even regarding the money, the case of the money according to Rabbi Yossi? That can't be the reason. Ella, therefore the Gemara keeps the tzrichas we said, but only according to the Rabbanan. Tarvayu l'Rabbanan itzrich. The Mishnah is saying both cases according to the opinion of the Rabbanan. V'loizu afsu ketani. And this is a case where the Tana of the Mishnah first said the smaller chiddush, according to the Rabbanan, that in a case where you could just simply give money to each one of them, and then the third 100 put aside, you do so. And then it says the even greater chiddush regarding vessels, that even in a case where you have to break a larger vessel, you're also going to do the same thing, that give the smaller vessel to one, and then a portion of the larger vessel to the other, even though you have to break. Rabbanan still hold of their opinion in this case. And this is a bigger chiddush. The Tana starts with the smaller chiddush, and then it says the bigger chiddush. That's the way the Tana teaches it, according to the Rabbanan. A person that gives fruits to keep as a pekadon to his friend. Even if you see that these fruits that you're keeping for your friend are getting lost by either mais, Rashi says, or they're getting rotten, you shouldn't touch them. You leave it where it is. Don't sell it in order to make the value, the money, so you can return it to the owner. Leave it as is. The Gemara will explain why that is. Rab Shimon Gamliel says, Moichran b'fnei bezdin. No, you should go in front of a bezdin. You should sell it, evaluate it properly, and sell it. You're saving these fruits and returning something that would be lost to its owner. Just like the halacha, similar we learned before regarding a person, you see that there's a water that's going to flood his property. You have to help him and save him from that. Here as well, you have to save the fruits and sell it so the owner gets back his value. So to Gemara, my time, what's the reason of the Tanakama? Why shouldn't you sell it to save, to salvage the value of it for the owner? Rav Kahana. So the Gemara gives two reasons. Rav Kahana says the reason is Adam reitze bekav shaloi mitisha kav shalchaveda. A person would rather have one measure, one kav of his own fruits that he worked on, rather than having 9 times the amount more, if it would be sold and he would get the value of it or the money of it, he'd rather have his own, even though most of it is going to be rotten, it doesn't matter. That's why you can't sell it. This is a famous line the Gemara says here. The Rebbe in one place explained that this concept, this nature of people, that they would rather have something that they earned and worked on their own rather than getting from someone else, is based on the whole kavanah of creation. Eibusha creates the world for the avodah of a yid to serve Hashem, mumat tolamayla from below, that the whole value of the avodah is dafke what the yid does. And the Chazal say that Eibusha created the world that people should be a shutef like Kadosh Baruch Hu b'maisa bereishis. That shutef like Kadosh Baruch Hu means that it should come from below. So this purpose of creation is built into the nature of people in creation, that they appreciate what they earned on their own. That's the idea of here. Adam reitz b'kav shaloi. That's Rav Kahana's reasoning for the Mishnah's din here, for the Tanakama. Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak Amar, Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak says another reason, Chayshinon shema asan amafke trume omaisa mokamacher. We're concerned, there's a possibility that the owner designated these fruits that he gave her as a pekadon to be truma or meiser for his produce that he has in a different location. So how could you go now and sell it to salvage the value of it for the owner? You're going to sell it to someone, you might be selling truma and meiser. Now, you know what Taisus here says, usually you're not allowed to give my trumas and meisers when it's not together with the produce that you're separating it from, but nevertheless, there are times, and out of Shabbos and other times where there is a possibility to do that, and that's what we're concerned about. The Gemara asks here, Meisvei Hamafkid, the Brisa says as follows: Hamafkid Peres Eitz L'Chavere. You gave fruits for your friend to keep. So Harezela Yigabehen. So the Shemer should not touch these fruits. Can't sell it, leave it, in whatever condition it is. Now Lefichach Balabais Oisais and Truma Maisa Makamache. Therefore, the Brisa says the Balabais can be sure that those fruits are still in his possession. So he could designate them to be Truma and Meiser on his produce that he has in a different place in his home. So now the Gemara explains, what do we see here in this Brisa? According to Rav Kahana, the way the Brisa puts this makes sense. Hainu, diktoni, lefichach, the Brisa uses the term lefichach. In other words, according to Rav Kahana, we can understand that the Brisa here is saying 2 points. The first point it's saying is, you have fruits from your friend, even though it's rotting, don't touch it, you're not allowed to sell it. Why are you not allowed to sell it? Because of the reason that Rav Kahana said, Odom reitz b'kav shaloi, a person would rather have his fruits, so don't sell it. Then the Brisa says, a second point, lefichach, therefore, the owner now can separate meisters with this, can designate this as meisters, trusting that it's still there. But according to Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak, my lefichach, why are we saying this as a second point, that now that the shemer is not allowed to sell these fruits, therefore the owner can designate it as meisters? According to Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak, this point about the fact that the owner designates it as meisters, that's not the second point. That's the first point. That's the main point there. According to Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak, this is actually the entire reason why you're not allowed to sell it. Because perhaps the owner designated as meisters. So the Brisa should have said, don't sell it because the owner might have designated it as meisters, not lefichach as a second point. So the Gemara says, no, it's not a question of Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak. Hachi ka'amar, this is how you have to read this Brisa. Now that the Rabbanan said that loy nazbin, that a person should not sell fruits that he's keeping as a pekadin, and the reason is the chayshinon, because as Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak said, because it's possible that the owner went and designated it as truma and meisre. Then the Brisa says, therefore, balabais leis and truma meisre mokamacher. Therefore, the balabas, the owner of the fruits, can actually go ahead and do this because he can be sure that the owner, that the shemer that is, did not sell it, because we don't allow him to sell it out of a concern that it may have been designated as Trumas and Meisres. So the owner can trust that it's still there, and therefore he could go ahead and designate it as Trumas and Meisres. That's the understanding of this Brisa. The Gemara brings now another point, a limitation or a qualification regarding this halacha of the Tanakama. Rabbi Bava Metzia says in the name of Rabbi Yechanan, Machlokes, the whole argument over here, the opinion of the Tanakama that says that you're not allowed to sell these fruits, even if it's rotting, that's only if it's rotting or if mice are eating it, at a certain point, which is the usual amount that it would get deteriorated. If it gets deteriorated to a point which is much more than it usually would, it's basically all rotting already, then everybody would agree that you should sell it and salvage whatever you can so that the owner can get some value of his fruits. That's the distinction Rabbi Yochanan made here. So now the Gemara returns to see whether what he says goes along with any of the opinions that we explained before, Rav Kahana and Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak, regarding why it is that a shomer should not sell these fruits according to the Tanna Kama. Says the Gemara, Ad Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak vadei plige. Regarding the point, according to Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak, that he said that the reason why the owner shouldn't sell is because perhaps, or not the owner, sorry, the shomer that is, shouldn't sell these fruits is because perhaps the owner already designated it as Trumas and Meisters. So how could you sell it? So Rabbi Yochanan is definitely arguing in this, because according to Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak, there's no room to make a distinction between whether it deteriorated a little or a lot. What's the difference? The issue over here is it may have already been designated as Trumas and Meiser, so you can't sell it to anybody. So Rabbi Yochanan is definitely arguing on Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak. And Rav Kahana, the reason that Rav Kahana gave before, and he said, don't sell, the shomer shouldn't sell these fruits, because a person would rather have kaf shaloi, his own, more than 9 amounts more from anything else you'll get for him. Should we say that Rabbi Yochanan here that says that you have to measure how much it's deteriorating? Maybe he's arguing. It sounds like from what Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak is saying that no matter, sorry, Rav Kahana that is, Rav Kahana is saying that no matter what, a person would rather have his own and not from his friend. So the Gemara says no, he's not arguing on Rav Kahana because ki kamer Rav Kahana b'chtei chesroinan. When Rav Kahana said that a person would rather have his own and not what will be bought for him from someone else, that's if it's to a certain measure, a certain degree of how much it usually will deteriorate, but not if it's mostly getting destroyed and ruined. But look at the expression that Rav Kahana said. He said that a person would rather have 1 kav, even though he can get 9 times the amount of his friend. Now that's definitely a deterioration that's completely more than normal. Most of it is all gone. And still, Rav Kahana says, the Mishnah is saying that you should not sell it. And says the Gemara, Guzma Balma. This expression that Rav Nachman Rav Kahana that is said is just, it was an exaggeration. He didn't mean it literally. If it's deteriorating to this degree, he would agree to Rabbi Yochanan that you could sell it to salvage for the owner. Okay, now the Gemara brings back the Braisa we quoted before and asks on Rabbi Yochanan's distinction. Again, Rabbi Yochanan made a distinction. To what degree is it deteriorating? If it's Yaisa Mechdei Chesreinan, if it's much more than usual, then even the Tanna Kama agrees that you can sell it. What did it say in the Braisa we quoted before? The owner can rely on the fact that these fruits are still in the possession of the shomer, and he can designate it as trumas and meisters for the produce that he has in his home. But the question is, how can he rely on that? According to Rabbi Yochanan, maybe the fruits in the possession of the shomer deteriorated more than usual, and therefore he already sold it before the owner wants to designate it as Trumas and Meisters, and the Kachol Tvalim. And then he thinks that it's still in the possession of the Shomer, and he designates it as Trumas and Meisters, but it's gone already. It's been sold already. And then it comes out that he's eating from his produce in the home where Trumas and Meisters were not taken from it. So how could the Braisa, according to Rabbi Yochanan, say that you can rely over here on this, that the produce is still there in the owner of the that is that the produce is still there by the shomer? It's not. If it's Yosem Mechdei Chesreinan, it's not there by the shomer anymore. So the Gemara answers, Yosem Mechdei Chesreinan lo shchiach. In a case where it's more than Mechdei Chesreinan, if it deteriorates more than the usual, that's something that's not common. So therefore, we don't have to be concerned about this, that perhaps the owner is going to give Tumas and Meisters and it was already sold off, because it's not common that such a thing can happen. So you could rely that the shomer still has these fruits in his possession. But now the Gemara presses on further, but however, if this actually happens, that the shomer has these fruits and it's deteriorating more than usual, so what's going to be the din now? Are we going to allow the shomer to go and sell this? But the question is though, why shouldn't we be concerned that maybe the balabas already designated it as trumas and to be truma and meiser on something else in his house? And in such a case, if it was already sold, then the trumas and meisers that he designated is not there anymore. Oh, sorry, the Gemara's question over here is that she should be concerned, Shema also balabais truma meiser makom acher. Maybe the balabas did designate it as truma and meiser, and how could he sell it? It's Truma Maestris. You can't just go and sell it to anybody. Answers the Gemara, you're right. When the owner, when the Shaimer that is, sells it, who's he selling it to? He's not selling it to anybody. He's selling it to Kayanim, which will pay for it, Dmei Truma. They'll pay for it a cheaper amount for this fruit that may be Truma, and therefore you can only sell it to Kayanim. That's what Rav Yechina was saying. When Rav Yechina said before that you sell it to the, you can sell it, what did he mean? You can sell it to the Kayanim, but not just to anybody else. But now the Gemara goes back on the point that we said before. We said that Rav Nachman Yitzchak disagrees with this. Rav Nachman Yitzchak holds in any case, you're not allowed to sell it to anybody because if you sell it, it could be it's Trumas HaMaisros. So how could you sell Trumas HaMaisros? So the Gemara now asks, what's the problem? Well, Rav Nachman Yitzchak Nami. According to Rav Nachman Yitzchak as well, Nizavninu L'Kayanim B'Dmei Truma. Why did he say that the reason why the Tanakama says you can't sell it because it might be Trumas HaMaisros? So if it's Trumas HaMaisros, so we should allow him to sell it to the Kayanim for the value of it, of Truma, even if you can't sell it to just anybody. Answers the Gemara, no, Rav Nachman Yitzchak holds there's still going to be a problem here. Baha Pligi, this is what they're arguing about. The Rabbi Baba Chana holds, like we already explained before, that Yeser Michdei Chesreinon Lo Shchiach. For these fruits to deteriorate more than usual is not common. Lo Shchiach Midi, it's not common at all. And if this happens, it happens over a long period of time, that it deteriorates to this degree. Now, if the owner did designate it as Trumas HaMaisros on produce that he has in his home, that probably happened before it deteriorated to this degree when the Shemer now wants to go ahead and sell it. So therefore, when it's already deteriorating to this degree more than usual, so Rabbi Yechina says that you're concerned that maybe the owner designated for Trumas HaMaisros after such a long period of time, so that's okay. Let him just sell it to Kayanim for the value of money of Truma, and then there's no concern about this. That's according to Rabbi Yechina. So again, the point there is that according to Rabbi Yechina, because it only deteriorates over a long period of time, the only concern that could be over here is that this has already been designated as Trumas HaMaisros from before, and therefore, maybe you're selling Trumas HaMaisros. So sell it to a Kayan. So then there's no problem. But Rav Nachman Yitzchak disagrees with this whole point here. And he says as follows, that these fruits that you have, that they can rot and deteriorate more than usual, this is something that happens commonly as well. And when this happens, it can happen very quickly, happen immediately. And therefore, what's the problem over here? The problem is not only about who he's going to sell it to, that he might be selling Trumas HaMaisros. The problem is that if you're going to allow the Shemer to sell these fruits when it deteriorates, then what might happen is Zimnin, the Kodem, the Shemer might sell it right away. And then, when the owner is relying on the fact that these peiros are still in the possession of the Shemer, and he's going to designate it as Truma and Meiser on the produce that he has in his home, on Makam Acher, Lo Yada de Zavna, he's not going to realize that the fruits are not there anymore. The Shemer is sold already. And therefore the owner is going to end up eating tevel because the Meiser that he designated is not there anymore. So according to Rav Nachman Yitzchak, the concern is not about who you're going to sell it to. For that we have a solution. You could just sell it to a Kayin. But the concern is about the owner that wants to designate it for Trumas HaMaisros because it deteriorates very quickly and the Shemer could be selling it right away. By that time, the owner thinks that now he can come and designate it Trumas HaMaisros, but it's gone already. It's been sold. That's our concern. So that's why Rav Nachman Yitzchak says that it can't be sold at all, even to Kainim, it's not going to help. Further, the Gemara continues and asks here on the halacha of Rabbi Yechanan. Again, that said that Yoser Michdei Chesreinan, when it deteriorates more than usual, that then even the Tanakama holds that you're allowed to sell it. So the Braisa says, a person gave fruits to his friend, ver kivu, and they rotted, or yayin ve'echmitz, wine, and it became vinegar, shemen ve'hivish, or oil, and the oil lost its taste, or it's not good anymore, dvash ve'hidvish, or honey, and the honey is not edible anymore. So then you shouldn't touch it. That's what Rav Meir says. Chachamim say, you do something about this to take care of this matter for the sake of the owner, and a Meichram bebezdin. And therefore you sell it in Bezdin to someone to salvage whatever you can for the owner. I think Gemara is going to explain soon exactly what takana you can do for this, since it's already seemingly the honey, the oil, it's all already destroyed. It's gone anyways. So what's the point of selling this? We'll see soon. The Gemara will explain. Now the Brayta clarifies further. When you're selling this, sell it to someone else. Don't buy it off yourself and put aside money for the owner, because people might suspect you that you're just stealing it for yourself. You're a shomer and you're just taking it for yourself. By a similar case where this applies, where people might suspect you. A gabbai that has tzedakah money, and he has copper coins, and these copper coins over time they deteriorate, and you want to exchange it for silver coins. You don't have poor people to give out these copper coins to, so then exchange it with others, with silver coins. But don't exchange the coins with the coins that the gabbai tzedakah have themselves, because it looks like they're taking the money of tzedakah for themselves. Similar, a gabbai tamchoy, a gabbai of a tzedakah that's a tamchoy, that's the fund that's designated for poor people that need meals to eat on a daily basis. Bisman shelem manim, if they don't have poor people to give out the money to, l'chalik, so then moichrun la'acherim, so you exchange these copper coins with other people that have silver coins, ve'em moichrun la'atzman, they don't exchange it with themselves, because people should not be suspicious. Okay, now, so the Gemara goes back to the beginning of the Braisa. Ketani miyas, what did the Braisa say? Peiris v'hir kivu, that if you have peiris as a pekadon and they're rotting, and you should still, the Tanakama says, Rab Meir that is here, Tanakama says you should not sell it for the sake of the owner. So my love, don't you think, when it says v'hir kivu, it sounds like it's rotting completely, and even if it's more than the usual loss that there would be, still you shouldn't sell it off. But Rabbi Yechon said that in such a case, when it's more than usual, you could sell it. So the Gemara answers, it's only talking about, when it says v'hir kivu, it's talking about that the loss here is just the normal amount that it deteriorates, not more than that. But doesn't it say afterwards that even if it's wine that became vinegar, the oil got ruined, or the honey got ruined, this is definitely something that's already totally ruined and not usable anymore. That's definitely more than the usual, this slow and little deterioration. That definitely over here we see that still Rav Meir says don't touch it and leave it, not like Rabbi Yechon that says that you could sell it to salvage for the balabas. Answers the Gemara, Shani Hani, this case here is different. Kivin the come, because since it already is ruined, it's vinegar, or the oil, the honey, it's not usable anymore. So there's no point in selling it to salvage anything for the owner, because there's nothing to salvage anymore. It is what it is. Okay, so now the Gemara will come back to explain, though. Chachamim said that you could sell it and you could salvage. There is a takana here. And the Gemara will explain now the opinion of the Chachamim. And then we'll come back to explain what the machlekes here is. Now, shemen vehivish, dvash vehidvish. If you have oil that is not good, not usable, or you have honey that's not edible. So, lamai chazu. So what is it worth for? What could you sell it for? Answers the Gemara, Shema chazi legaldoi. This oil, even after it's not edible, you can still sell it to a tanner or to a shoemaker that can use it for the hides or the leather. And dvash l'chtisha de gamli. And the honey, which is not edible, could still be used for a camel that has a wound from the packages that it's carrying to smear it for the camel. Now, another point the Gemara says, what did the Chachamim say? You do it to salvage here for the owner and therefore sell it in Bezdin. But the question is, what exactly are you salvaging? What are you helping the balabas by selling it now? As the Gemara said before, even the come, it is what it is. It's already all ruined. There's nothing to sell. There's nothing to salvage here. Ravashi says, what you're salvaging is over here is the barrels or the kalim that it's being held in. If you leave this vinegar inside for too long, or the oil and the honey that's not good quality inside for too long, so then it's going to ruin the actual barrel itself. And so you're pouring it out and selling it to salvage the barrels. That's what Chachamim say. Now, why did Rab Meir hold you shouldn't do this? So the Gemara explains, so what's the argument here between Rab Meir and Chachamim, whether you should sell it to save the barrels? Rab Meir says, if there's a big loss, like Rabbi Yochanan said before, so that's something the Chachamim were concerned about and said, sell it, to salvage it for the balabas. But if it's a small loss, if it's less than Kedei Chesrainan, or like here, it's just the barrels, then you don't sell it. You leave it for the balabas. Omar Sovar, but Chachamim say, Afil lehefsed mu'et, nami chashashu. Even if it's a small loss, like just the barrels, that as well you have to sell to save for the balabas. Okay, now the Gemara brings the second opinion of our Mishnah, Rab Shimon Gamliel Oimeh, that when you have someone's fruits and it's getting ruined, yimkerem bebezdin, sell it in the bezdin, because you're helping the balabas, returning them the value of this fruits that would be lost otherwise. Itma, so we learned Rababa bar Rab Yaakov, Amar Rab Yochanan. Rababa bar Rab Yaakov said in the name of Rab Yochanan, halacha Rab Shimon Gamliel. The halacha in our Mishnah is like Rab Shimon Gamliel. Rava Amar Rav Nachman, but Rava said in the name of Rav Nachman, no, halacha k'divrei chachamim. We pass like the chachamim, even though you see that your friend's fruits are getting ruined, don't touch it, leave it as is. So the Gemara asks on this, that the Gemara brings there, that it was said, that Rabbi Yochanan said, the halacha is like Rab Shimon Gamliel. But the question on this is, Rabbi Yochanan said that we pass like Rab Shimon Gamliel all over. He said this already one time. Anytime Rab Shimon Gamliel teaches a din in the Mishnah, halacha kamaisai, we always pass like Rab Shimon Gamliel. There's only three exceptions. These three dinim of Arev, Tzidon, and Rayach Reina. But otherwise, we always paskin like Rab Shimon Gamliel. So why did Rab Abba and Rab Yaakov have to say here specifically that Rab Yochanan said that we paskin like Rab Shimon Gamliel? Answers the Gemara, Amirayinu v'alib Rab Yochanan. There's a machlekes Amirayim whether Rab Yochanan said such a rule or not. Rabbi Abba said he did. But Rabbi Yaakov didn't hold to that. So therefore he's quoting that Rabbi Yochanan said here that the halacha is like Rab Shimon Gamliel. Okay, now the Gemara brings up a new subject to compare the machlekes of the Chachamim and Rab Shimon Gamliel in our Mishnah to another kind of similar case. Should we say that they're arguing in another case that's similar to this? It would seem that from Rab Shimon Gamliel's halacha in our Mishnah regarding the paytas that you have from a person, that you see that it's deteriorating, that you should go and salvage it and sell it for the sake of the owner. So from Rab Shimon Gamliel we could learn out the meridin karav lenichse shavai, that what happens in a case where a person was captured. So he was forcibly taken away from his home, from his property, and he leaves it as is. So who's going to take care of the property in this time? So we should say the relative, the closest relative that would inherit this property, let him go into the property and take care of it while this person is away. Similar to what we're saying here, that a shemer should salvage the fruits and sell if he sees it's deteriorating. That's what we could learn from Rab Shimon Gamliel. On the other hand, with the Rabbana Nishma, from the Rabbana that say regarding the fruits here, that just leave it and don't sell, we can learn out the ein meridin karev lenichse shavi, that when a person is captured, so we don't take a relative and say that he should go and work in the property for the sake of the person that's captured. So that's the comparison the Gemara makes here. But the Gemara says, not necessarily is it the same. Why? How do you know to compare this to? Dilma, maybe I can tell you, kind of like Rab Shimon Gamliel hacha. When did Rab Shimon Gamliel say over here regarding the fruits that leave it where it is? Or sorry, Rab Shimon Gamliel was the one that said actually that you should sell it and you should salvage it for the owner. Why is that? Because over here, the fruits, if it gets totally ruined and rotten, so then the whole principle, all of it's gone. The owner has nothing left. There, when it comes to our property, over there, the property, even if it's not going to be worked with for the next while, then the owner is not here, but the principle, the property itself is here. So maybe you shouldn't enter into the property while the owner is not here. On the other hand, we could say, this that the Rabbanan say here regarding these fruits, that you should leave it where it is and don't touch it. Maybe I could tell you the reason is the two reasons we said before in Amar Aleph, either like Rav Kahana said, because of Adam Reitz B'Kav Shaloi, he wants his fruits that he worked on, or Rav Nachman Yitzchak's reason that maybe it was designated as Trumas and Maestris. But regarding the property that a person that's captured that left here, over here, those reasons don't apply, so maybe over there, we should have a relative go into the property and take care of it and work there while the owner's not here. So we can't not necessarily are these two cases comparable. Gemara says, so shall we say that today, that halacha regarding the fruits by a shemer and the person that was captured and his property are these two different halachas that are two different reasons and they're not connected to each other. Rav Yehuda said in the name of Shmuel, halacha kerab Shimon ben Gamliel. Regarding the fruits, the case of the fruits by the shemer in our Mishnah, we paskin like Rav Shimon ben Gamliel. And Shmuel also said, regarding a person that was captured, we have a relative go and take care of the property. So we see Shmuel's paskening in both of these cases similar. So don't you think that what this means is it's because it's all based on one reason, that you have to save whether the property or the fruits for someone, and that's why you have to take care of it. So it seems like it's all based on the same point. The Gemara answers, not necessarily. Today, timing, it is two different reasons. It's not based on the same point. And he paskin here like Reb Shimon ben Gamliel, and here that Meridin Karav L'Nichse Shavi, but it's not based on the same reason. Now the Gemara proves this. Hachanami Mistavre. We can see it's logical that we should say that it's not based on the same reason, because as we quoted before, the Amar of Nachman regarding the case of the fruits, Rav said in the name of Rav Nachman, Allah Kedivrei Chachamim, that we paskin like the Chachamim that you don't touch the fruits. On the other hand, Rav Nachman said, Meridin Karav L'Nichse Shavi. Regarding a property, when a person is captured, we do have a relative that comes and takes care of the property. So from this we learn it must be that Trei, Time, Mininu, it's two different reasons, they're not related to each other. Shma Minah. It's a clear idea that it's two separate reasons. Now here, the Gemara quotes this machlokes regarding the case of the property when a person is captured. Itmar, so we learned the machlokes about this. Shavoi shenishpa, person is captured. Rav Amar, ein meridin karav l'nechasav. So Rav says, we don't have a relative enter into his property. Again, this is a relative that would be the one that would yarshin here. We don't have him come into the property to take care of it. Shmuel Amar, however, Shmuel says, meridin karav l'nechasav, that we do have a relative come into the property to take care of it while this person is captured. So the Gemara explains, in what case are they arguing? If it's a case that they heard, there's a rumor that the person that was captured died in captivity, there's no argument here about this, the Meiridin, that we allow the relative, that's the one that would inherit, to go and be and work here in the property. If it turns out that the owner comes back and he is alive, so then what happens is the relative that worked there, as the Gemara is soon going to say, he takes a certain portion of what he worked and what he improved there, like a worker, like a artist, like a sharecropper. Otherwise, if the owner of the property is dead, he's the one that inherits. So then he keeps it's his now. So therefore, in such a case where we heard that he died, we allow the relative to work in the property here. Ki pligi. When are they arguing? Bishaloi shamu by shemes. When no one heard anything that anyone is saying that the person that was captured died. So Rav says that we don't allow the relative to go into the property because we're concerned that maybe since we didn't hear that the owner died and the relative that's working here in the property thinks to himself, no, my relative may show up any day and come and take back the property. Let me chaparain and work in the property as much as possible. He's not going to fertilize it properly. He's not going to give it the proper time that it needs to grow and so on. And he's just going to ruin the property. So therefore, we don't let him be in the property. But Shmuel says, no, Meiridin, we do allow the relative to take care of this property. Kivin the Amamar, because as the master has said, which in the next time the Gemara is going to discuss this, Shaimina Lohuka Aris, that this relative that works in the property and then the owner shows up, so what is he? He gets from whatever he worked there and all the improvement and the fruits that there are, he gets paid like an artist, like a sharecropper, whatever percent the sharecropper takes. So if he's getting a certain percent of what he's working here, loy mafsud lahu, he's going to be careful, he's going to treat the property properly, so he should get paid his amount. It should be in good condition. The Gemara now asks, from what it says in the Braise, that it seems to say, like Rav, that you don't allow a korev to go into this property. Meisvei, the Braise says, Rav Elazar said, Mimash Mashanema. From this pasuk that it says, V'chora api v'harakti eschem. Hashem says, I'll be angry and I will kill you. That's the beginning of the pasuk. So now Yidei Ani, it's understood here, Sheneshisayim Almanis, B'neim Yisayimim. That means that the wives will be left as widows and the children will be left as orphans. So Elamatam B'loima, why does the pasuk continue and spell out and say, V'hoyu Neshechem V'goyim, it says Almanis B'neichem Yisayimim. Why does it have to spell that out? It's self-understood. So the answer is this is an additional curse. What it's saying is that their wives will remain almanas because they're going to want to get remarried, and they won't be able to get remarried because there won't be any clarity if their husband died or not. They'll be an aguna. And the children are going to want to go and inherit and take the properties from their father and then use it for themselves. But we're not going to allow them because their father was taken away somewhere in captivity and we don't know if the father's alive or not. So we clearly see here in this brisa that it says that we don't allow the children, the relative, to take care of or to go into the property of the father if he's captured and we don't know whether he died or not. Exactly like Rav said, we're concerned that they're going to ruin it. Not like Shmuel that said that we allow them to be in the property. So Amar Rav explains this brisa, we can say, Leidei v'limkirtnan. When it says we don't allow the children to go into the property, what it meant is we don't allow the children to go into the property to sell anything, to sell the property. That's what we don't allow the children. But to work in the property, like Shmuel said, that would be allowed. Gemara brings a story that happened. Hava Ovda ben Erda, there was such a kind of case in Erda where a person was captured or taken away and they weren't sure if he's alive or dead. And the question was whether we could let the children or the relatives take care of the property. And Rav Sheshes says, no, we can learn from this Mishnah that the children are not allowed into the property. Amalei Rav Amram, so Rav Amram asked Rav Sheshes, why can't we answer like the Gemara answered? Dilme leidet v'limkirtnan. Maybe all it says is we're not going to allow the children to sell this property until we know if the father is dead or not. But to use it or to take care of it, that maybe we do allow them. Amalei, so Rav Sheshes commented about this answer and said like this: Dilme mi Pumbedisa. Are you from the city Pumbedisa? The ma'aylim pile bekupa de machta, that they give an answer that doesn't fit, like putting an elephant through the needle, through the hole of a needle. An expression, but this is what he's saying is this is not an answer that fits into the brisa here. Why not? Because v'hadumye d'neshoseim katani. When the brisa said that we don't allow the children into the property, it's saying this, similar to this, that the wives, the almanis, won't be able to get remarried. Ma'asam, just like regarding the wives, klaloi, what it was saying is that the wives won't be able to get remarried at all. Afachanami klaloi, it sounds like what the Bryce is saying is that the children will not be able to use the property at all, not just for selling. So therefore there is a raya from this Bryce to what Rav said, that in the case of a shavoi, we don't allow the relative to use the property.